And now, decision makers, helping to improve the quality of life in your town and your state for a better future.
In these days of high oil prices and dangers abroad, America is talking about West Virginia coal. President Bush and others say new, cleaner uses of coal could be a key to our nation's energy independence. But here at home, the issue isn't as simple. Coal companies use a practice called mountaintop removal to mine highly valuable coal seams at the top of some southern West Virginia ridges. It's big business, providing jobs and tax revenues for the state. But environmentalists say we're paying a cost that far outweighs the profits. They passionately believe that valuable natural resources and even West Virginia's identity as the mountain state are at risk. Today, we'll talk to both sides on the issue. Don Blankenship, the CEO of the largest coal producer in West Virginia, Massey Energy, and Vivian Stockman, a leader of one of the state's most vocal opponents of the practice, the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition. We'll find out whether there's any common ground when it comes to mountaintop removal today on Decision Makers. First, Vivian, welcome to the show. You're with the Ohio Valley Environmental Coalition, and you're very opposed to mountaintop removal. And Don, President, CEO of Massey Energy, we thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Bray.
Vivian, I'll start with you. How would you define mountaintop removal?
Mountaintop removal has been described as a form of strip mining on steroids. It's a process whereby the coal companies take off up to 800 feet off the top of mountains. What they call the overburden is removed. What we call the most biologically diverse temperate forests on Earth are removed, absolutely removed forever. Well, studies say for 500 years. The overburden is pushed into streams, burying, at this point, 1,200 miles of streams have been destroyed by mountaintop removal. So not only are there huge environmental impacts associated with mountaintop removal, there's also the human impact. We really believe it's a human rights issue. Whole communities have been driven away. People are losing their homes, they're losing their health. The groundwater and the surface water is being polluted, and water, we're soon going to find out, is one of our most valuable natural resources. People just are really up in arms about this type of over-the-top coal mining.
Don, how would you define mountaintop removal?
Well, I define it quite a bit differently than that. I guess I would define it as a method of extracting energy that the country in West Virginia needs so badly that actually allows a lot of people to build a home rather than tear down a home, and that it brings with it certain challenges both environmentally and interacting with communities, but it's a well-balanced trade-off, and certainly it's something that both the country and West Virginia have to have.
How much mountaintop removal business does your Massey Energy do?
Well, when we talk about mountaintop mining, we do about 22 million tons of surface mined coal, but how many of those tons are actually coming from the mountaintop as opposed to contours and so forth, we don't really track that. But my guess is we do about 10 million tons or so that could be categorized as mountaintop removal.
And what percentage of your overall coal production is that?
Total surface mining is about 40% of all Massey coal production.
Ms. Stockman, do you see any way that environmentalists can embrace or allow mountaintop removal to go forward and be acceptable to you?
Absolutely not. I would have to disagree that the nation needs mountaintop removal mine coal, because the best of our figures, the mountaintop removal coal accounts for anywhere from 5 to 10%. 10% is probably generous, of the electricity burned in the United States. And with currently available energy efficiency and conservation measures, we could easily save 20 to 30% of our electricity usage. So in our view, mountaintop removal is absolutely unnecessary, and it's absolutely wrong.
Does coal have a place in the nation's energy future, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely, yes. There's underground mining. We're not, I think the common misperception is that we're wanting to stop all kinds of mining, and absolutely not. I think that we're facing a situation right now in the nation and indeed internationally where we're seeing the full effects of the use of fossil fuel, and we really need to diversify. And the jump into alternative energy as if our lives depended on it, because they very well may.
And that will come as energy prices go higher, as energy becomes scarcer. It'll make the economics of that more possible, right?
Well, and absolutely, but right now the coal industry, the fossil fuel industries have been subsidized for billions and billions of dollars. There's a movement afoot called the new Apollo project, in which we would take the same subsidies that the coal industry is currently getting, or the fossil fuel industry, about $30 billion a year, and put that into a 10-year program for moving ahead with alternative energy. And really, if we took the subsidies away from the fossil fuel industry and put them into the new alternative energy, I think alternative energy would be mainstream, truly renewable energy would be mainstream quickly.
Federal courts have temporarily shut down the permitting process. Where does that stand, and where is it heading, Mr. Blankenship?
Well, basically, there's a stay of Judge Goodwin's opinions on hollow fields, and the industry is continuing to work under permitting processes that are overseen by the Corps of Engineers and OHVEC and West Virginia DEP. So the industry's still functioning satisfactory right now in the permit area, but there's still a lot to be sorted out, if you will, by the courts and the legislatures. But I probably should comment that, you know, you can't really do without any sort of energy. And when we say that we're seeing what happens in the world when you use fossil fuels, I think we are. You know, we're seeing people's lives improved all throughout the world through the use of fossil fuels. And if we didn't use fossil fuels, I don't know what we would do for our daily lives. And the common statement that alternative fuels and wind and solar is going to solve the problem, if that were true, it would happen. And it's not yet true. It may someday be true, but it's not yet.
Ms. Stockman, are the courts your best avenue to slow down this process?
The courts are one avenue. I think what we really need is people speaking out about what is happening to them, and we're seeing that more and more. We need to sort of reclaim our democracy and to get the coal money, the fossil fuel money out of politics. We've seen what happened here in West Virginia with Mr. Blankenship's money in the last Supreme Court race, and that type of thing of, you know, we really need that as a reclamation. We need a multi-pronged campaign to sort of bring awareness to what is happening. And I would say that fossil fuels, we are where we are today because of them, and no one would deny that that coal has been extremely important. But we also have the Pentagon saying that global warming is a bigger concern than terrorism, and I think that, once again, I have to reiterate that we would be much further along if fossil fuels weren't so subsidized.
Mr. Blankenship, the legislative process has not sort of cleared the air either on a federal or national or state level as far as the permitting process. Do you see the legislators or the Congress getting involved in this process, or is this strictly going to be limited to the courts?
Well, I think that the Congress and the legislature in West Virginia and the courts have been involved extensively for some time now, and that's one of the issues, is there's just so many people involved, it's hard to get through the quagmire. But I don't know if, you know, who at the Pentagon said that global warming was a bigger threat than other threats that we might have. But the main problem that we have in the country is that everyone talks about alternatives to fossil fuel, and yet no one's found an economical or a reasonable way to replace fossil fuel. And what's happening is this country is in the situation it is because of fossil fuel. That's true. But the situation we're in is the most powerful country in the world, the one that keeps the peace in the world, and the one that the rest of the world depends on. And it not only is it coal that has caused that to happen, it's been the American worker and so forth, and those things need to be protected.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll hear about the Mountain Summer Justice program that's coming to West Virginia.
To decision makers.
We're back. This summer, we expect some heated discussion about environmentalists and mountaintop removal, and I said Justice Mountain. It's Mountain of Summer Justice, I guess. Ms. Stockman, what can we expect this summer from this protest?
Well, it's Mountain Justice Summer, and it's a campaign. Basically, it's a campaign of people coming together to say enough. We're not going to take it anymore. People carrying on the proud tradition of Rosa Parks and the Widow Combs, and basically what our country was founded on, which was standing up to the powers that be.
And who are these people? Are they coming in from are they West Virginians, or are they from across the country?
I really don't know. There's definitely going to be a lot of West Virginians involved. There's people and let's see, mountaintop removal is happening in eastern Kentucky, parts of Virginia and Tennessee and West Virginia, so we expect people to be involved from all those areas.
And who's funding it?
It's barely funded at all. I think it's just a matter of people that have a lot of concern about what's happening and probably using their own money to come and say no.
Mr. Blankenship, what are you expecting?
Well, we really don't know what to expect. We do know that sometimes environmental movements that are coming here have destroyed property and so forth, but we're not really expecting anything. We're preparing for whatever might occur. But I think the more important thing is that there are a group of people in the country that doesn't believe that we need to be mining and using fossil fuels, and yet it's one of the critical elements of making this country the greatest country in the world, and we need to do it well, but we don't need to stop it, or we don't need to impede it to the extent that it costs a lot of jobs and takes away our ability to produce